What I like about the process I'm going to show you is that you don't need necessarily that rig. You can use a regular silk screen rig to do this, and some glazes. And treat the glazes kind of like how Israel using, whether it's corn syrup, wallpaper paste. Amy Santaferraro, who's another screen printer with clay, she's talked about if you buy this size underglaze and you want to use it as a silk screen paste or ink, just uncap it overnight. And it'll thicken it up enough for you and you have it. What I'm using here is Israel's screen printing ink, or the slip. It's only a one run, so I don't know if it's going to come out really solid on the piece. But here we go. It is a thicker mesh, so there's more of an application. Push it on. Do you just cut me out on there? Yeah, do the head. Do the head. Okay. If any of you saw the cakes that I brought in, or the bits I did, along with the sheet cake, I had a wallpaper sort of look to it, real decorative. I love doing that with this. You can cut them out the way you want to, apply them in small areas. Another artist who uses this process is a friend of mine, Kelly McKibben. She's a resident tech at Carbondale Clay Center right now, and she does a lot of this newsprint transfer. She suggests the Wall Street Journal when you do it. She says it's the most forgiving, it's the best paper. She doesn't understand why, but with her experience, she loves it the most.
She just takes a piece off and cut it out of the newspaper.
She can use the whole sheet. You can cut it around. It depends on how you want to have it placed. And there's all sorts of ways. You can do the dual screens like Izzy was talking about with layering colors. Just remember that the last screen that you put on is going to be the background. So you want to screen print your foreground image first. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this being the image that I want seen, this would have been the first image that I'd have placed. That's going to be the most seen. And then if I was going to have a background color, that would be the second color on the screen because you're layering it on there. All right. So here is the wonderful vessel I've been through. Got my image, and I got my leather barb pot. But this is not going to stick right to it. You have to have something that's going to act as a bridge way, an adhesive for it. So if I can use that creamy slip that's over there again. And you got to know this, like you're also rehydrating the piece. So how much do you really want to add to it? Do you want kind of the brush stroke to act as a texture, or do you want it to be thick? Do you want it to have no transparency? Right now, I'm just going to use it as kind of rehydration. I'm going to do it over the image first, real light, because I don't want to spread too much of the dry slip. And there's a lot of limitations to this. I mean, if you want color, you can still add color to this. You can underglaze the spots that you want to. You can screen print this and then use it months later. Just keep it flat. Don't roll it up. Don't fold it up. If you have a cardboard portfolio that you can screen print a lot, just keep them flat in there. Do that. All it takes is a little rehydration of the slip. And I'll probably do about 2 coats of this. And it's going to be pretty wet. But you're going to treat it like it's a sticker. Does anybody have a rubber rib that I can use? Oh, perfect. And a spray bottle. Do we have any spray bottles in here? Maybe. Yeah. Okay, so I did the paper first because I want that paper to at least dry a little bit more. If it's too wet, that could be a little technical problem there. You want the paper that has a slip on it to get more of like a leather hard kind of a substance, I guess would be. Brush the area of the pot that you apply your image to. If you want the full image on there, do that. If you just kind of want some of it to fade away as if it's that sign of process. So I won't do the whole jar. But while that's still wet, I'm gonna go ahead and apply the leather hard piece to it. I didn't mark what was up or down.
I was gonna say, which
oh well. Honestly, I want that looseness. Even if I was to cut up strips of it and place the strips just awkwardly around the piece, you get this information on there that is kind of digitalized. It's not traditionally what you would see, but it's placed on there very loose. So that's some
help on the other side and look at the bottom.
Got it.
Might as well hold the crap side up. It's gonna be your.
So yeah, a big circle with it, and it's just like a sticker. So I'm gonna start off with like one edge. I'm gonna kind of do it at an angle here. And I apply it down as I put it on there. And remember, if it's a very curved surface and you have a large sheet of paper, you're gonna get wrinkles in it. Do you want those or do you not want those? And that just goes into like darning. How are you gonna cut the piece to fit it? I sometimes like when it crinkles because then you can get the texture of the slit to show like that. Or sometimes the image will kind of close in on itself. The one thing I do recommend is play around with it, experiment with it. And again, you're rehydrating the surface, so it could be really fragile or it just gets that wetness. I just keep patting it down to make sure that it is part of the slit that I applied onto the pot.
Are you going to leave that paper on and let it fire off? Or
No, I take it off. I wait probably about sometimes around 15 minutes or so. I won't just take it off right away. I'll slowly peel. If I find that information being the ink, isn't transferring, I'll place it back over and then I'll take the rib and work on it a little bit more. And it could just depend on the paper that you're using. It could be application of the slit.
Did you say you could have used just Wall Street Journal?
Oh, that's paper. That paper is really good to use.
Transfer right off the paper, none of this screening, none of this.
I'm going to be really aggressive with the rib. And sometimes some newsprints will they can't handle the wear and tear of the rubbing. But the Wall Street Journal gives a real clean application and you can be really aggressive with
Like
it.
the Wall Street Journal with Obama's picture on it, kind of run on a piece of paper.
The screen print of Obama's picture on it.
The screen print.
It's the Wall Street Journal paper.
Okay, you can't
Think
see
of
the
the
paper.
paper as a white piece of paper.
So I'm really just kind of brushing the rib
Right. Yeah, he said
over it until I get it applied to it. I'm going to let it rest a little while, maybe like 5 minutes or so, and that's when I'll go back through later and I'll be a little bit more aggressive. But you get the air bubbles in there, try to get those out. If you need to use a pin, it's kind of just like applying a bumper sticker to your car. There are many, many ways of doing this. It's just coated once, so I'm going to have, not only is some of it going to stay on the paper, you're not going to get all of it on there. So probably about 3 or 4 coats on the newsprint, let it dry, do another screen, let it dry, or do another run, and then just apply it just like so. You can make it really crisp and clean. You'll get some of these spots when we're slit didn't stick to it. Play around, experiment. Puffy, I did a cake that I wanted a kind of a raised puffy pink lettering. So I piped the letters onto the newsprint, just a real simple round one, and then flipped it onto the wall of the cake. You got to write it backwards, and it's the raised letters, so you can actually touch it, feeling that it's frosting or something.
So you can also just paint onto the newsprint.
If it's really thick, though, if it's a really thick application that you put on the paper, it could crack and separate out. There was a pottery making illustrated recently that Paul Andrew Wallace wrote.